Such a pleasure to speak with you both. Pennyworth season 3 is somehow even wilder than the last two seasons. And Jack, 5 years have passed since season 2, and like one of the big developments is that there's people with enhancements now, and it's not just like Golly that has powers. There's multiple that are introduced throughout the season. What's most interesting about doing this show when there's this during this time with these like proto superhumans that are just spouting around?
Proto superhumans. That's good. I like that. We have to nick that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I think it's been brilliant to watch the evolution of the show or be part of it. I'm in it. To watch the evolution of the show from season 1, where it's kind of a Dickensian sort of London and dark and character-driven drama, to this explosion of madness that is season 3. It's been great fun, and watching, even the people with enhancements, some of them are fantastic. The essays that come in with things on their head, or we had robotic arms that were driven by a PlayStation remote. It worked, it moved, and it swung for me, and I'm fighting this thing, and there's a guy stood behind the actor with a PlayStation remote, operating this arm, and I'm like, I'm up against this, I'm up against two people here. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. It's wild.
That's awesome. And Ben, season 2 ends on such a big twist with Martha giving birth to a baby girl. Everybody thought it was going to be Bruce. What was your reaction when you found out that Thomas has a daughter?
Yeah, it was such a surprise to me to read it, and I still don't know what is in Bruno, our showrunner's, mind with that. I don't know the answer to it. It's obviously not part of the canon that Batman has a sibling, a female sibling. Is she Batgirl? I'm not sure, but in season 3, she's I think Sam's like 8 years old or something. He's become this.
She's 5.
Is she 5?
It's a 5-year time jump.
Oh, yeah, 5.
I think Jada, who plays Dan, was 8.
Thanks.
No worries.
He's 5. Everyone's kind of jumped forward into this kind of seemingly more settled life, even though definitely the world around them is still pretty chaotic and unusual.
And Jack, the showrunners have talked about, like a V for Vendetta connection, and there's definitely, you could see some thematic similarities early on, but now we're seeing people with like Guy Fawkes masks and stuff, and there's just so much disarray going on within England. What do you like most about this side element to the show?
Well, I think something that we've always done quite well is pulling in, villains and people from real life, from literature, from other, other universes or other things like we've been. And it's been a lot of fun watching this melting pot of 70s London, of weird and wonderful characters, really.
And Ben, it's been so exciting over the first 2 seasons seeing Thomas and Martha get together, and now they're married. They're having like trust issues. What's been most fulfilling about just portraying this couple in a relationship that has had so many ups and downs?
Yeah, there's never not a conflict with them. It's never plain sailing, which is great for the material and good for the scenes. And they're just like, they're naturally, they naturally light a fire under each other, I think. And Bruno writes, and the rest of the writers write for them in this kind of brilliant sparring partner way. And the conflict continues, really. Their relationship is called into question even more than it has been before in season 3. There are there's some huge reveals and trust issues, and it gets pretty explosive for them as a family unit. Some unexpected twists and turns.
Yeah, definitely. And Jack, one of the things that makes your portrayal of Alfred so interesting is that he's constantly saying that he's got to be his own boss. It's so different from what we know him becoming as a servant. And it really speaks to the respect he must have for the Waynes and gets for the future. So what's been most intriguing about knowing where the character ultimately kind of ends up and being so different from that and going on this journey?
That's a very good observation. I think that it's been doing an origin story is always interesting because of course you know where they end up. It's about how you get there, and you know, I think I've tried to add a few bits in the beginning of season 2, I think, or maybe it is 3. No, I think it's 2. There was some Mrs. Pennyworth's house is in disarray, and there was kind of washing everywhere and whatever, just after my father had died. And there was a scene, and I added in a bit where he walks past the dining room table and there's just some tea towels, and I just started folding them up, and they were like, wow, that's great, you know, keep that. Just little bits of, you know, basically it makes the odd tea, you know, that kind of thing, which has been quite fun. But yeah, he's so far removed from the Alfred that we know in years to come. And I think what's been interesting for us is initially, I don't want to speak for you, but it was a show that was about how Alfred got to know the Waynes, but actually we don't spend much time together, Thomas and Alfred, do we? And they're kind of, I'm really intrigued to see how that relationship develops. And
I think from like the initial pitches, you would have thought it might end up being a bit of a buddy thing between them. But actually, there's still this tension still lies between them. There's this slightly weird distrust of each other, and it's almost like Alfred is brought into their business kind of reluctantly each season. That happens again. Again, we have to rely on him to kind of protect us from danger, really, which I presume I don't know how it's going to evolve into what it becomes in the comic books, but I presume that's kind of the role that he takes on. It becomes even more personal for them the more chaotic their life becomes. I don't know.
Yeah, and Ben, another interesting part of this season is that usually it's Batman dealing with daddy issues, but Thomas Wayne has a lot going on with the whole father dynamic this season. What did you find most interesting about, you know, how dealing with those daddy issues yourself as Thomas?
Yeah, I think what Bruno's done there is kind of obviously, you know, we inherit our family dynamics and we often repeat them. And I think what he's done is trace that back to Patrick and Thomas's relationship, which we really see in evidence here. The kind of distance that's between them, and you know, fast forward to that, there's a similar distance and coldness between Bruce and Thomas in the comics. So I think that's what he's done, almost like an Easter egg, really. Even though I suspect Thomas doesn't want to repeat that history, we really see it play out. And I think Bruno wrote some really sensitive, brilliant scenes particularly towards the end. They were just like a real privilege to play, and I think it kicks off some big drama.
Definitely. And Jack, Alfred, in the past, he's always put money first in his business dealings, and we start to kind of see that change a bit in season 3 as kind of a wake-up call. He's like, am I really a good person or not? What are your thoughts on just the development he's undergone over 30 episodes? Because it's quite the change.
I think he's gone from a boy to a man, really. I think everything that he's, you know, as you say, I'll need to work, be my own man, work for myself, be my own boss, always gets called into question, I think. And actually, it's interesting to see where he ends up. But I think in this one, the money stuff, morally, you know, that's the great thing about this show and Batman in general, is it's not good and evil. It's not black and white. You know, good people do bad things and vice versa. And exploring that sort of notion has been good over the 30 hours.
And Ben, the first 2 seasons were on Epix, and now it's moved to HBO Max, which is very exciting because a whole new audience can go through these twists and turns. And the show's so bingeable as well. What's most exciting about knowing that you have such a huge streaming audience this year?
Yeah, I think for us, we just want as many people to watch it as possible, and we're very proud of it as a show. Like, I think it's got quite a kind of unique tone to it. It can kind of do whatever it wants, given that it predates the canon as well. So we can like draw on things, do lots of Easter egg moments, but we can kind of create our own fiction in there. And like, I think we're really happy that it's moved to such a great platform, and also that the show has evolved with HBO Max's involvement as well. You know, like the time jump 5 years ahead. I think the show has a slightly different kind of look and feel to it, which I think is really exciting. It still retains that kind of like Pennyworth darkness and kind of gangster thriller kind of thing, but it's kind of more colorful, more explosive. There's more of London playing in it. We've got a bigger and better sets and stuff. So yeah, we're excited for this season for sure.
And then my last question, I'd love to get both of your reactions here, just to the ending of season 3. No spoilers, but the show just gets so bonkers. What was when you read that in the script? Like, could you believe what was going on? Because the show just keeps throwing me for a loop. Every time I think I have a grasp on it, it just goes in a totally different direction.
Yeah, I mean, we're with you there.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting because we get the scripts bit by bit as we're filming, and they just seem to get madder and madder and madder.
Yeah, it gets like a bit apocalyptic. It gets a bit Walking Dead-ish. It gets a bit like it leans into a few different genres, I think, towards the end.